Welcome to Drive Time Live. Drive Time Live is about what supports and drives you. It's about the drive to connect, thrive, and share your inner radiance. It's about your drive toward healthier relationships with the great power, yourself, and others. This is Lady K coming to you live from the studios of WHCR, the voice of Harlem, 90.3 FM. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. Love is a limitless resource made available to us from the great provider. Open up to receive it. Allow it to fill you up. Let it multiply within you. And never hold it back, for love moves mountains and builds bridges to transformative change. You know, it is so blistering hot out there right now. I must say that I'm very grateful to the folks at True Control Fitness who keep me fit and healthy. They are a sponsor of Drive Time Live, and I want to thank them. True Control Fitness is Harlem's original boot camp. It's a great place to go and get your muscles toned up. Make sure that you have a slamming hard body and uniting with other like-minded folk who enjoy working out, reaching goals, and getting out and enjoying life. So give them a call, 212-537-9243. And again, join Harlem's original boot camp, True Control Fitness. We have a very special guest on today. She is known as the Inner Power Doctor. Dr. Antonia Martinez earned her doctorate degree in metaphysics in 2001 and is pursuing a second degree in metaphysical psychology. A holistic self-development and goal achievement expert, Dr. M draws upon a unique blend of Eastern, Western, and indigenous teachings and techniques, including energy medicine and the martial arts. Her work helps to facilitate the internal shifts that lead to major breakthroughs in life, well-being, and business overall. Welcome to the program, Dr. Antonia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Got you on the wrong mic. And I do it again. Welcome, Dr. Antonia.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So now, Dr. Antonia, I said a mouthful just now, so I'm going to shift around here, and I'm going to put it on you. Please explain what it is you do.
Sure. Well, my focus is on life and business transformation, personal alchemy, and metaphysical psychology. And what I specialize in those areas is helping people to overcome their chronic blocks and obstacles, meaning things that you've tried so hard to get through, to move beyond. You've read books, you've been to the retreats, you've been to the therapist for years, and still you continue to have trouble with something, and you can't quite put your finger on what is the cause of this trouble, this obstacle that you have in your life. So in the work that I do, I help people to identify what the cause of that obstacle is and to make the internal shift necessary to move beyond it.
Now, are we talking about things like want to stop smoking, want to lose that 20 pounds? Are we talking about that?
Well, it can be if after everything they've tried, they continue to have an emotional or spiritual attachment to it. Then I would help with that. Mm-hmm. But if you're, let's say, just starting to work on losing weight, you would go to some type of weight loss expert. But if you've been to the weight loss expert and still you can't lose the weight, now you need to come to me.
Okay, because what is it you're going to do? How are you going to go about helping?
Well, because whatever happens in your life really is the manifestation of something energetic or spiritual that's happening within you. And when you are unable to make a change in your life, that means it's because you're unable to make a shift in how your energy, how your spirit is moving or flowing.
What does that mean? Energy shifting, spirit flowing. What are we talking about there?
Well, we're talking about, in broader terms, you could call it, let's say, your life force. And you have a blueprint, an energetic blueprint, a consciousness, an awareness. That's something that's indescribable that creates your body, that creates your mind, that creates your psychological patterns, and it creates the circumstances in your life. And my field of expertise is working on that something. That's something that is beyond what you perceive physically. That's where I work, and that's the energy that I'm talking about. So, for example, you may have experienced that energy, let's say when you're talking with someone, and their words are saying one thing, but something is telling you that's not the truth. That's the kind of energy that I'm talking about. You may know that energy as a blessing or a miracle. You may know that energy as a voice that comes to you. You may you may call that energy Murphy's Law when it's working against you.
Yes, as we do. Okay. So you delve into the subconscious.
The subconscious.
You delve into meditation.
Meditation. Yes.
Keep me going.
Yes. And also, metaphysical psychology is different from psychology that people are used to, because this really deals with the patterns that are inherent in your energetic body before you even come to a physical body, before you even come to awareness about what's going on in your life. It's the motivation behind your motivation. So
going very deep.
Yes, very deep.
Do you use hypnosis in your practice?
I don't anymore. I used to. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with hypnosis, but just the nature of my work has changed. And so when I'm working with people, we're working very consciously to change something. So that's what I'm training people on when we're doing techniques. I'm training them on how can you identify whatever the pattern is. How can you open up your awareness to what is there and bring that to the surface so you can confront it, deal with it, and move on.
So this is the type of service that you provide is to deal with an issue that someone brings to your attention, and if they're willing to, you will also assist them to go a little bit deeper and figure out maybe the why.
Yes, well, actually even more than that, because a lot of times what happens when people come to me with a problem, the problem that they're coming to me with is not the problem. They don't know it. It's the symptom of the actual problem.
Give me a hypothetical, without naming names.
Okay.
And just for the record, I have not been a patient yet, but I might go ahead.
For example, so a woman comes to me, she's having trouble finding work, and it's very upsetting to her because she's usually a person who she's very skilled, very talented. Finding work has never been an issue for her. And now it's such an issue. She can't get work. She's running out of money. There are all of these other circumstances that are now happening because she can't find work. So she's coming to me thinking, well, can you help me use the law of attraction to attract some work or something like that? Okay. As she talks to me about what's going on, what we discover is that her issue is not about finding work or attracting work. This was a much more deep-seated issue that had to do with two things. One, she has a pattern of being financially unstable that she's never really dealt with. And at this point in her life, it was coming to a head. The second thing that really knocked her off her feet when she realized it was that she had this unconscious belief that if she had a full-time job, because she always freelanced, that taking a job would be an admission of failure in her life, because she always wanted to be a successful entrepreneur, and she never actually reached the level of success that she really wanted to. And once we tapped into that, she realized, well, me getting a job doesn't make me a failure. So she didn't realize she was actually creating the circumstances energetically that would prevent her from being in that situation. Once that she cleared that up, literally 3 days later, someone called her from a resume she posted online. She hadn't even applied for the job. And that was the result of her opening up that energy and letting it flow.
So this is along the same lines of people saying, the weirdest thing just happened. I was thinking this, and the person walked straight in front of me, and I was on the subway of the A train.
Exactly.
And, things that cannot be explained.
Exactly. We call that synchronicity. And that's exactly.
That's
what happens when your energy is flowing. Synchronicity.
And this also, there's sayings out there like, money attracts money. And I think this kind of follows the same logic that there is the subconscious, there's an energy flowing, And whichever way. Now, you mentioned something to me, not to cut myself off, but I just wanted to share something very important that you shared with me before we came in. And that had to do with, the family and energy of family. Can you share that with the listeners?
Yeah, one of the things that I learned, and this was through doing some, meditation work and some visioning, I realized that the energy in the family, we think of ourselves as individuals in the family and, each individual is trying to do this and do that. But that's not really how it is. There is an energy that is greater than the family that evolves and manifests through the members of the family. And because of that, in order to really evolve that energy and therefore the family, that means that the members of the family really have to connect. And we're not really used to doing that in this society. I was at a family reunion myself maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and I was astounded because these were actually members of the family that I've never met before. And I was astounded at how much commonality there was between myself and these people that I'd never met before. And I started to think, in families, if we really shared our interests, our ups and our downs, think of how much further along the whole family would be. Because, with every generation, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but I know there are things that I've struggled with. And then once I found the answer, I thought to myself, well, I can't be the first one in the family to have encountered this
yes.
problem. Somebody else must have gone through this and found an answer. Well, why didn't anybody tell me? So imagine if we were all in the habit of sharing these things. And of course, maybe not everyone's going to listen to you. But if there was a habit of sharing things with your family, think of how much further along both you and your family would be if you all didn't have to relearn the same thing generation after generation after generation.
I think that really stirs in the minds and hearts of many people the issue of trust.
That's very interesting.
Oh, you should have seen the look she gave me. She's reading me. Right. I mean, I'm just listening to what you're saying and thinking to myself, gosh, if I had confided everything to my family, I know you're right. So many wonderful things would have happened. But then there are one or two family members that, they don't necessarily come to the table with the spirit of loving and concern as much as we would hope they would. Some people feel the need to, press your face to the ground and say, I told you so.
Well, that's all patterning. Because if you have not learned to open up, if you've not learned to share, then chances are you're going to become a person who doesn't open up and who doesn't share. And you may have different reasons. For some people, maybe they're hiding something. There may be a lot of shame, and so they don't want to talk about certain things. Even now, there are people who don't even want to tell their friends certain things because they're so afraid of how it's going to look if their friend knows this about them.
Well, yeah, we were talking, leading up to today's interview, and I went to a family reunion and with a cousin of mine who I love dearly. We shared about our parents and that one of our parents doesn't know who his father is. And that went to the grave with the grandmother. So, those type of hurts and those type of misfirings, they resound and ripple through the family for years. Here we are, in 2011, grandchildren of this person still talking about it. So it definitely, the energy that you're speaking of, it does play itself out in that way.
Yeah.
So now, how do people get a hold of you? How do people begin to work with you and work on themselves?
They can go to my website, which is www.innerpowerdoctor.com. And when you want to work, there are different ways to work. Some people want to start with working on themselves by themselves, and I have tools for that. I have workbooks. I have card games that help facilitate that process. So if you want to work with yourself, you want to work with a spouse, you want to work with your family, I have tools for that. But if you want to work with me, there's also a section on the site for scheduling an appointment. And I have something I think the best thing probably for somebody is the breakthrough session. And the breakthrough session is specifically for having a breakthrough. So if there's something specific that you really want to transform in your life, the breakthrough session is good for that. Because when you have an obstacle, and it doesn't matter what kind of obstacle it is, but especially if it's something that you really have difficulty getting through, anytime you run into that obstacle, it's like a car crash with your energy. So you crash into this obstacle and your energy just goes all over the place. And when you lose your energy like that, that's what makes it so difficult to recover and then move on past the obstacle. So the breakthrough session is not only about identifying what the obstacle is, but recovering your energy so that you can move forward with greater ease.
So now, I know that you have another session coming up. It's not one-on-one, but it is a group event. I think it's this Saturday, right?
Oh, yeah, actually, I have a few. Yeah, one is this Saturday, the 9th. It's Introduction to Personal Alchemy. And I'm really excited about that one.
Can you define what alchemy is just for everyone?
Alchemy is the process of transmuting, not just transforming one thing into another. And so learning personal alchemy is really about learning how to harness your spiritual energy, not just to transform, but to really evolve. How do you evolve into your natural destiny? That's what that class is about. Techniques for how to do that. It's so much simpler than people think. We live very complicated lives in this society.
And people want to muck it up with even more complications.
Exactly.
All the reasons why not to
exactly.
do it. But this sounds really, really wonderful. Where will it be held?
It's going to be on the Upper East Side in Manhattan. So when you sign up for the class, it'll tell you exactly where the class is going to be.
And one more time, is there a phone number or a website that we can go to?
Same website, www.innerpowerdoctor.com.
All spelled out, the word doctor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, take me through this a little bit. I look at you. You're a beautiful, rich, beautiful woman.
Thank you.
Rich and beautiful beauty, features and energy. I want to find out from you how this all started. Were you a child that could move things in the air and all of that? I mean, people like you just, you've got such great gifts and talents, but one wonders how all of this developed.
Well, thank you. Well, I couldn't move things in the air, but I did have some abilities when I was a child. And one of them was dreaming. I was very good at. I mean, I didn't do it on purpose. It just was a natural talent. I could see things in my dreams. And the other thing that I was very good at was I really am able to see things energetically. And when I was a child, that would manifest as me being able to see into other dimensions. That's how it started.
Wait. See in other dimensions. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, just like a radio station. In order to hear a radio station, you have to be on a certain dial because it's broadcasting on a certain frequency. Reality is the same way. So we're tuned into this frequency. That's why, we can see each other and the people can hear me talking right now. If you change the dial, you can pick up on a different frequency. It's in the same space, different frequency. I had an ability to do that as a child. Now, of course, as a child, I didn't know what that was. I just figured everybody could do that. So
how did it show up?
Well, I could see people in these other dimensions. And some of the dimensions also are what we call memory or the future. So, for example, I had told my grandmother, I know which one of you is going to die first, between her and my grandfather. And I was a very small child, so I'm not realizing the impact.
Of course. That ripple effect.
Of just blurting something like that out. So I told her, and that's who died first. So in my work now, when I'm doing energy work, the really deep kind, I can go in and see a memory, because a memory is just like a CD or something. It's recorded somewhere. And if you have the ability to read it, you can read it back. And it's really very helpful because your body records these things too. And that's why you can be so affected by your emotional state because your cells record the energy. So yes, it happened 20 years ago, but it's recorded in your body. And if you haven't released that, your body is still reacting to it.
Is that why when you have a certain type of interaction with someone, an argument or something that's a little disturbing, the same patterning will come up about how you behave in that circumstance? Is it also the same reason why people who, call themselves emotional eaters do that?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because it's there's a part of you that's still acting like it just happened just now. And other people can perceive that. So just like you, when you're speaking to someone, they're trying to pretend like everything is okay. But you can pick up, everything's not okay with you. I can feel that. So that it's a real energy. And most people are sensitive to it in some degree, but they don't give it that much credit.
Now, with women, this is a particularly touchy subject because often, and you shared a story, but I'd love you to share with the audience as well, about kind of figuring out that there was something really not ready in a relationship that you were having. Can you tell the listeners about that?
Oh, yeah, sure. I was just starting to date this guy. And so one day we go to his house to pick something up. And while we're in the house, I'm seeing the pictures of him and the kid and the kid's mother. And something comes to me because I know him and the mother have known each other since high school. But something is telling me, even though the relationship is technically over, he's not done. He would rather get that relationship going again. He really would love to be with this woman. So I brought it up. I said, you think maybe you're still in love with your son's mother? He's like, oh, no. I mean, of course, I love her as a friend because we've known each other since we were 14, blah, 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 this, that. But no. I decided that I was going to trust what my inner knowing was telling me. And I said, you know what? Let's just stay friends. Because I really think there's something here and you should work that out. Sure enough, some months later, turns out, yes, he really did still love her. He wasn't even aware of it at the time. And now they were, looking for their first house. They're getting married. And so everything was fine. Between me and him, between those two, no harm, no foul. Yeah.
Right. Now, I spoke to you about it. In that particular case, I think that there are just so many women who will hear that and say, oh, man, I wish I had listened to that voice inside. I wish, because I just knew that this wasn't, this person wasn't ready, or I wasn't ready, or whatever the situation might have been. I wish I had listened. And what they're talking about when they're talking about listening is the inner voice,
yes,
the energy,
yes,
that it all takes to come together.
And I want to say about that, I think that for women, we're kind of taught to underestimate that and to mistrust our own intuition. And I think that a lot of times when women do distrust their intuition, it's because it's also connected to some issue of insecurity. Mm-hmm. And so if their insecurity is being stirred up by what's going on, they're usually going to distrust the intuition, because they're taking it too personally. I didn't take it personally that he was still in love with his son's mother. It didn't have any effect on me. If I was a different person and trying to hold on to him, maybe I would have ignored it and just, oh, well, he's telling me this. And so I'm just going to believe that despite what I really feel, So, and that concept about, women not trusting. And I feel that for both men and women, we have a lot of things about ourselves that we don't trust, we don't accept, because that's the way society tells us to see ourselves as men and women. And I really want to work on healing that, because a lot of those things are in complete contradiction to being a healthy human being. And so that's why I have the Healing Man, Healing Woman card game and the group that we do every month for people to really work through that and really learn how to develop healthy relationships with themselves, with other people, and a healthy relationship with the life that you want to have.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for the work that you do, Dr. Antonia, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing all of these stories and amazing, amazing offerings that you have and the talents that you have.
Oh, thank you.
Again, let everyone know how they can get in touch with you.
The website is www.innerpowerdoctor.com.
Perfect. Well, we've got Kwame Veer up on deck. He's in the house. And before we say goodbye, I just want to share with everyone that here at WHCR, we really care about you. We hope that you will donate to the station. We are in a fundraising drive currently. And if you listen to the program, please give generously to the cause here at WHCR, 90.3 FM. And this is Lady K on Drive Time Live. Once again, we've been speaking with Dr. Antonia, who is a metaphysical healer and leads the Healing Man, Healing Women transformational conversation and self-realization card game as well. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. Stay blessed, stay cool, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.